Hi, Usman.
Hi Komal, how are you?
I'm a little under the weather, but I'm pretty cool.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. All right.
Okay, so the topic of the day: why is Toronto real estate so expensive? That's a question that we keep getting. Looking at, we know, understand that we're in a transitional market. We acknowledge that, but still, this question keeps coming back: why is Toronto real estate still so expensive? And tell me why.
Yeah, first of all, expensive is a relevant term. One thing that could be, considered expensive here could be considered a lot cheaper for somebody who's living in New York, for example, right? So let's just
Establish
put
that.
that relevance in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I think there are many different factors that affect the value of real estate in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it goes back to demand and supply.
Of course.
But maybe there are a couple of things that I think we can talk about very comfortably
Yeah.
that I think everybody should be aware of, but it's a good reminder as well. Number one is immigration.
Absolutely.
We bring in about 430, 440,000
This
new
year.
immigrants in Canada, and out of that, about 100 to 110,000 end up in the Greater Toronto pocket. So just keep in mind that we are bringing in about 100,000 people into the sort of the region, while we are only building maybe around 30 to 40,000 new units, right? So there's
Yeah.
a big disparity in the demand or in the potential demand versus the supply that's there. Among the G7 countries, I think this region ranks one of the lowest when it comes to new homes
Yeah.
and the creation of new homes. So that is number one.
Yeah.
Secondly, we should always keep in mind that even though Toronto is a big city and we may think that you can basically develop pretty much anywhere and everywhere,
Yeah.
that's not the case. If you look at Toronto, you have to keep in mind that it's actually like an island. On
Yeah.
one side
We
you
have
are
green belt all
yeah,
around
you have Greenbelt to the north,
to the
which
east
is
and the
basically a
west.
very strict regulatory aspect where you cannot build more than a certain amount of dwellings.
And then you have the lake on this side.
Then you have the lake on the other side.
I mean, I think we
Right.
need to start building like the Palm Island or something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there are many other factors, right? There are many other factors that actually
Mm-hmm.
eventually bring
Yeah,
the
it's
Toronto
all
real estate, value
because we're going through
at a level where we're
intensification
at.
then only, right? We're only
Absolutely.
building up, and that's why I think we're seeing so many condos being built, and there's only so much that the builders can buy land and build so much.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that actually we're building at least condos because if you didn't even have the sort of the vertical development, just imagine what could have happened to the prices.
Oh yeah.
But having said that, there's still a lot of people who have actually I think majority of the people who understand the market well have a lot of confidence in terms of where the Toronto market is going to be in the next 4 to 5 years.
So tell me, so okay, the Toronto is expensive because there's not space to build. I get that.
Yeah.
But why are investors still coming and investing in Toronto? Why are global investors coming?
Well, we got to keep in mind there are many things that make Canada, what Canada is at the moment. When you look at the global ranking on countries, Canada is ranked number one. That's amazing. If you look at the Greater Toronto pocket, we have one of the world's top class universities. We have one of the world's top class specialized hospitals. The Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto is ranked number one in many different publications, and it's just a global city
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
I
And
think
just
it's
keep
the
in
culture
mind,
as well.
I know we are running out of time here, but keep in mind that even if you invest in Toronto right now, just imagine, let's say you invest in a pre-construction, for example, which is at let's say $1,500 to $1,600 per square foot right now, which sounds kind of expensive if you come to think of it. But is it expensive when you know that you're going to be taking possession of that particular unit in let's say 2027, 2028?
Yeah, no.
If you think Toronto is not going to be more expensive in 2026 to 2028, I think you're living in a different world.
Yeah, and I think Toronto is still cheaper than the rest of the world.
Toronto is still very
yeah,
cheap,
if
and
you
we are
compare
still
to
in.
New York and Hong Kong, like we're still very, very, very cheap
I think
per
so.
square foot. I mean, we're not
Absolutely.
cheap, but we're
I
per
think
square foot
I think we
cheap.
can keep talking on and on and on and on.
I think this is it, I
So
guess.
this is it. I think let's wrap it up. I think everybody now should be convinced that the
Toronto
real
is not expensive.
Toronto, in the grand scheme of things, is not expensive.